Imagine standing on a mountain in the dead of night. The temperature is 30 degrees below zero. It's totally dark and absolutely silent. You are miles and miles from civilization. Suddenly, something happens. Something so terrifying that you abandon everything. You don't just leave, you flee in a blind panic. So frantic that you literally slash your way out of your shelter. You run into the freezing void without your coat, without your boots, leaving all your safety behind to sprint toward your own death. A month later, when rescuers finally find you and your friends, the scene looks like a battlefield, but there is no enemy. There are no footprints in the snow, other than your own. Some of your friends have injuries that look like they were crushed by an immense, heavy force, yet there are no external bruises on their bodies. Others are found with horrific, unexplained mutilations. One is even missing a tongue. This is not the plot of a horror movie. This is the Dyatlov Pass incident, perhaps the most chilling and baffling unsolved mystery of the Soviet era. To truly understand this tragedy, you have to know that these were not amateurs. This was a group of 10 elite hikers, 9 of whom would continue on the final leg of the journey, led by a 23-year-old engineering student named Igor. They were all young, strong, and incredibly experienced in winter treks. They set out on a difficult expedition through the northern Ural Mountains, aiming for a peak with a local name that ominously translates to "Don't go there." They were prepared for the extreme cold. They were prepared for the grueling distance, but they were not prepared for whatever was waiting for them on the Mountain of the Dead. On the night of February 1st, 1959, they set up their camp on an open, exposed slope of Kolotsa. This was a strange choice, as a forest line just a mile away would have offered much better protection from the elements, but they were experienced, and they must have had their reasons. Photos recovered from their cameras show them in good spirits. They're laughing, setting up the tent, changing into dry clothes after a long day's hike. They ate dinner. They were calm. Everything was normal, until it wasn't. Sometime in the darkness, chaos struck. When search teams eventually found the campsite weeks later, it was a scene frozen in time. The tent was half buried in snow, but the canvas had been violently slashed open from the inside. Inside, all their belongings, remained boots, warm jackets, food, money, even their cameras. They had cut their way out to escape something so immediate and so terrifying that they chose the deadly cold over whatever was inside or just outside that tent. A trail of footprints led down the mountain. They were walking barefoot, in socks, or with a single shoe. They weren't running wildly at first. The tracks show them walking in an orderly fashion away from the camp. At the edge of the forest, about a mile away, the first 2 bodies were found under a large cedar tree, near the remains of a small, hastily built fire. They were dressed only in their underwear. They had clearly tried to keep warm. Branches on the nearby tree were broken high up, suggesting someone had desperately climbed it, perhaps trying to see something back up on the slope, or maybe trying to escape something on the ground. 3 more bodies, including that of group leader Igor Dyatlov, were found scattered between the trees and the tent. Their position suggested they had died while trying to crawl back to their shelter, fighting against the numbing cold. But the most disturbing and inexplicable discovery came months later, in May, when the spring thaw melted the snow in a deep ravine nearby. The last 4 hikers were found there, buried under 13 feet of snow. Their injuries defied all logic. 1 man had a fractured skull. 2 others had massive chest fractures. A medical examiner described the trauma as equal to the impact of a high-speed car crash. Yet, bafflingly, their skin was unbroken. There were no external bruises or soft tissue damage consistent with such devastating internal injuries. Even more terrifying, one of the women, Lyudmila Dubinina, was missing her tongue, her eyes, and parts of her face. And to add another layer of strangeness, traces of low-level radiation were found on some of their clothing. The official Soviet investigation was closed abruptly, just 3 months after it began. The verdict was vague and deeply unsatisfying. The hikers had died as a result of a compelling natural force. The files were classified as secret. The families were told to stop asking questions and to bury their loved ones in closed caskets. So what happened? Was it an avalanche? This is the most common and rational theory. It could explain why they cut their way out of the tent and fled. But experts point out that the slope wasn't steep enough for a major avalanche, and the hikers were experienced enough to know that. Also, the search party found no evidence of an avalanche when they arrived, and it certainly doesn't explain the crushing internal injuries without external damage. The missing tongue, or the radiation. Was it a secret military test? The area was known to be used for weapons testing. Locals in the region reported seeing strange, glowing orange spheres in the sky on the night of the incident. This could explain the secrecy surrounding the case and maybe even the radiation. Could the hikers have been accidentally killed by a weapons test, and the scene staged to look like an accident? Or was it something else entirely? Something that has no name. The local Mansi people have legends about the area. Tales of spirits and strange creatures. Could they have stumbled upon something they weren't meant to see? Decades have passed. We have mapped the globe, we've explored the depths of the ocean and the vastness of space, but we still cannot explain why 9 strong, rational, experienced people fled into the frozen darkness to die in such a bizarre and terrifying way. The only member of the original group to survive, Yuri Yudin, turned back early in the trip due to illness. He spent his entire life searching for answers. He never found them. The mountain is still there. The wind still blows across its slopes. But the truth remains buried under the snow. The mystery of Dyatlov Pass endures, a chilling reminder that some questions may never have an answer. What do you think happened on that pass? Was it nature, a military cover-up, or something far stranger? Let me know your theory in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and if you're fascinated by unsolved mysteries like this, be sure to subscribe for more.